Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing the first part of this series, transforming these wooden eggs for Easter. And so last year I got these on sale and I put up a post and said, guys, go get some of these eggs. So I hope that you did, because I'm going to be putting up a couple of videos on how to transform these. It's going to be so much fun because today is going to be inspired by the elemental kingdom, and so there's going to be a lot of magical things that are going to inspire you and appeal to that childhood fantasy in your heart. And so it's going to be a lot of fun, guys. So let's get started. Now for us, we have a birthday party coming up. We're going to be doing a royal elemental party where we're going to just be celebrating with this kind of beautiful fairy tale themed party with elves and fairies and unicorns and you name it. We're going to try to enjoy it on that day for our children. My twins are turning 1, and so it's going to be a really fun little party, and that inspired me to create these little miniature representations of these different elven kingdoms and fairy kingdoms, etc., to just put them on these eggs, because then I'm going to use these eggs for dual purpose, for decorating for our birthday party, but also for decorating at Easter time, just to celebrate the whimsy of the spring component that comes in with Easter. So for the first egg, I went ahead and we're going to make this sweet little fairy house. And so I got one of the eggs and I'm going to anchor it on one of these old pieces of wood slices that I had laying around with just a little bit of the greenery on top from a Christmas village. Now of course our fairy house is going to need some entry points, so we put on these 2 little windows. I got these off of Amazon. I can link them in the description below. I'm going to use one as a door and one as a window. And then I got this little floral and took it apart and glued that right on top of the egg just to make it look like an upside down flower. And if you get these glass gemstones from the Dollar Tree, you can just create this little centerpiece on the flower, and I stacked up a couple of the pink ones just to make it look like a little chimney on top, and just to add to that whimsical appeal of this flower on top of this fairy house. Now fairies love pink, and so I went ahead and we just started bedazzling this egg all over, and also adding in a couple of sweet little florals around the bottom with a nice little crystal, as well as this little cork and another one of the pink glass beads to make it look like a little mushroom for these little fairies to sit on. Just add such a dainty and whimsical touch. Of course, a little butterfly. And then to really finish this piece off, I wanted to add these beautiful little hummingbirds to the back of this wooden egg. And hummingbirds are actually a really easy bird to paint, and they feel so beautiful and whimsical, just like little fairies. If you want to paint a hummingbird, you just create 2 S shapes and then, extend them on the one side for a beak and then on the other side for a tail, and then create 2 little wings, and then you got yourself a beautiful little hummingbird. So it's definitely something you should try because it's a very easy bird to paint. And I think that it adds to the sweetness of this overall look. So definitely with all that bedazzles on the flower as well as around this house, it's definitely a fairy's little dream. So hopefully we'll get some fairy guests to our party to enjoy this little egg. And I think that it looks very nice next to this giant pink egg that I did last year in one of my DIYs with the butterfly on it. They complement each other well and would look really nice together in decorations. This next little house reminds me of one that could just be perfect for maybe a little gnome or maybe a little dryad. So it's very earth elemental in its appearance. And I started this one also with a wood slice that I had left over, anchored my egg to that. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some moss to the top. I'm going to do that in two different varieties. I'll start off with a little bit of a darker brown and then add in this bright green on top to give it a little bit more dimension. And then I'm going to add a little door to this little fairy house. I just did this with some scrap pieces of wood and went ahead and painted that with some wax paint to give it a realistic appearance. Now around that door I did add a little bit of rock feature as well to give the door a frame and to hide any of the elevation from the curvature of the egg. I took that wax paint and added just some more details around this egg just to create a little bit of a wood type of texture or even a little bit of a brick type of texture, and just adding these small little details and the shadowing throughout just give that nice level of detail to this overall appearance. It just makes this really pretty. I'm going to also add in one of those windows to this little egg. I do paint behind this window a little bit of darker color just to make it look like it's brighter outside than it is on the inside. And then I went ahead and added some rocks to create a little window sill with a little bit of some moss on top. Of course, this house needs a chimney as well, so I turned over one of these little mushrooms and gave it a little chimney and added a couple of butterflies and dragonflies to the top of this house just to give it that beautiful appearance that's going to really add to that spring whimsy. And of course, some of the details around the bottom with some moss and a little bit of fun features such as this little key give it such a little secret garden type appearance. I think it really turned out sweet. And this egg, when I took pictures of it, looks so great when I styled this next to that jumbo egg that I did last year with that really beautiful green moss egg with the bunny on top. And so it's really nice when you can create things that complement decor that you already have. I feel like I can see a little tiny dryad already moving into this little whimsical house, so I think that it's a really cute piece. Now for the last one, I did an elven inspired egg, and elves of course are not small like fairies and dryads, and so I just created an egg that has more of a regal appearance that is nature inspired. And so I started that egg off by creating a beautiful green swirl around that egg to give it that underlying color. I did that with two different tones just to make sure it has some texture. And then I'm going to upcycle some old jewelry. I have this earring that has this beautiful leaves on it that can create a really nice topper to this egg, as well as taking an old broken piece of jewelry that I'm going to add a gemstone to give it that beautiful sparkle and regal effect. Now to add in some extra layers, I'm going to do some wire weaving techniques just from my jewelry making hobby that I do. I do also make jewelry, by the way. If you're interested, I have a website on Etsy. I can put it in the link in the description below. And all that jewelry that I make is all handcrafted by me and infused with beautiful Reiki loving energy. So if you're interested in that, go take a look at that. But some of this wire weaving techniques is really much of a flow, and so I show you a little bit of how I did some of those pieces there. But when I'm working on a piece or when I'm creating something, it's really, I just let that piece guide me, and so it's really hard to do an instructional tutorial on that, but you can see some of the techniques that I used here. I wrap that wire the entire way around the piece and just create little buds off of that look like leaves to create really beautiful pieces. Now that I have that metal component as well, I'm going to add in a little bit more greenery just to get back to the nature aspect, because when I think of elves, I think of this really beautiful kind of royal creature. So they have this earth element and this metal element, as well as these just maybe some earth-like gemstones, right? So maybe emeralds and things like that, and so they seem very earthy in their regality, and so that's why I want to combine these elements. And so I took this greenery from just an old pick and wrapped that around this egg and added a little bit of wire to the top so that I could create this shape, and twirled that back around on itself just to add some height and dimension. I took some of these leaves, added a little bit of gold to the tips of these leaves, and added a couple of leaf greeneries in there as well. Again, adding layer and layer and layer. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add this beautiful gold chips that I got from the Dollar Tree, and these are really nice. It's not actually a glitter, they're little gold chips, and I'm gonna take those and just with some glue add some beautiful swirls elements to this. And usually when I'm doing these things and creating something, it's always about adding layers into things. If you keep adding details, those fine details over time are what's going to create something that's really intricate and beautiful to look at. And when you look at this next to that green egg, again, similarly, it's just so beautiful and accents it quite nice as the previous house that I just shown you. And so I really love how these two complement each other. They look nice in the same arrangement and really add to that whimsy of the overall look. I can't wait to add these eggs into our beautiful royal fairy tale party that we have coming up. I think that it's going to be a really nice accent to bring in my own creative process to that. And so I'm really interested to hear what you guys think of these eggs. I know that they're not your normal paint the eggs pink and light blue, but I think that they are something special and definitely something that plays on that whimsy and beauty that spring brings in to this time of year and to the Easter time and Easter holiday. And so I hope that you enjoyed this egg decorating tutorial. I have a couple more that are coming up. One will be a fun little dupe of some really special eggs that I found online that were $525. So I'm not going to spend that. I'm going to go ahead and recreate that on my own. And so I'm going to show you how I did that. And I'm going to get you a couple other DIYs this Easter, guys. So I hope that you stick around and subscribe and give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below what was your favorite egg that I showed you today. I had a lot of fun, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.